My name is Kevin Reagan. In 1985, I was 10 years old.
My name is Kit Reagan, and I am 10 years old. Today, we watched Back to the Future.
Hello? Hello? Anybody home?
Are you telling me you built a time machine? DeLorean?
We're sending you back to the future!
You're listening to The Perfect 10.
All right, so since this is our inaugural podcast, which means first episode of the podcast, I'm going to explain very quickly all of the films that we will watch for this podcast I saw when I was 10. Meaning they either happened in 1985.
That came out.
Right, exactly. They came out in 1985 or before 1985. So it could be 1984. It could be 1973. It could be 1949. We probably don't watch it.
1902?
1902? I don't know what that would be.
An old television marketing cookies.
You think that television existed in 1902?
No, I think that radios did.
Oh, that's true.
You should buy these cookies.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like I can picture that. You should buy these cookies.
What kind of cookies do you think they were in 1902?
Thin Mints.
Which ones?
Thin Mints.
You think Thin Mints existed in 1902?
No, but a knockoff version of them.
You think the knockoff version happened before the actual version? Back to the Future is a 1985 American science fiction film directed by Robert Zemeckis and written by Zemeckis and Bob Gale. It stars Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Leah Thompson, Crispin Glover, and Thomas F. Wilson.
Set in 1985, it follows Marty McFly as a teenager who accidentally sends himself back to 1955 in a time-traveling DeLorean built by his eccentric scientist friend Emmett Doc Brown. Once, in 1955, Marty inadvertently prevents his future parents from falling in love, threatening his own existence, and is forced to reconcile them and somehow get back to the future.
This film was released on July 3rd, 1985. So technically, I wasn't 10 yet, but I was 9. It still counts. It still counts. Kit, let's talk about Back to the Future.
Okay.
You saw it for the first time the other night. What were your initial thoughts?
In the beginning, it's a bit boring.
Okay.
When they get, into the past, it's, kind of fun. You have to watch it for it to, be good.
You really have to pay attention to this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are a lot of little Easter eggs and things, and we'll talk about a little bit of them, that happen within this film. And if you're not really paying attention, I've seen this movie easily 50 times, and I still pick up new things every time I watch them. Do you have a character from the movie that you liked a lot? Who was your favorite character?
I liked Lorraine as the young one.
You like Lorraine when she was young, so Lorraine Baines as opposed to Lorraine McFly. Okay. What did you like about Lorraine?
She was, cool.
She was a lot different than what Marty probably thought his mom was, because she seemed, in 1985, she didn't like Marty's girlfriend, right? Girls calling boys.
When I was your age, I never chased a boy or called a boy or sat in a parked car with a boy.
She kind of seemed like she was probably a proper young lady when she was younger. And then when Marty encounters her in 1955, he realizes, well, that's not entirely true. She's a kid like every other kid, right?
Yeah.
Do you think I was a kid? Do you think I was a dumb kid?
Especially you.
Especially me. But a lot of times, no, clearly not in this situation, but kids oftentimes think their parents, were born parents, that they were never kids themselves.
I feel like you mature into parents and kind of don't really do your past life unless you're special and you're rare.
You mature and become boring, is what you're saying. Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but
That's
I
not
don't think I
untrue.
would be like that.
You're not going to do that. Yeah. Every generation says that. And guess what? You might finally be the one who breaks the mold.
Did you ever say that?
I'm certain I said that, but I didn't say it on a podcast, so nobody can prove it. Who do you think my favorite character in the movie is?
Yours is probably George.
You think George McFly is my favorite character?
Yours is Dr. Emmett.
It is. It's Doc Brown, without a doubt. I want to talk to you a little bit about Marty first, because we talk about films and plays and stuff, and there are different roles that you want in plays, and sometimes you don't get cast in that role, right?
Yeah.
And that happens. You may audition for something and not get that part. You may get a different part. That happened in this movie, in fact. One of the guys in Biff's group, those tough guys, his name's Matches, the character. That's Billy Zane. And Billy Zane actually auditioned to play Marty McFly. And obviously he didn't get that part, but he was like, well, I want to be involved in the movie. So he played this. I mean, that's not even a secondary character. I don't know how it was when he read the script, but it's like such a tertiary character. But he still did it. So originally, Michael J. Fox, who plays Marty, couldn't do the movie. Well, actually, apparently he never even got the script. Steven Spielberg, who produced the movie, wanted him to get the script, but the producers at Family Ties did not want him to leave, so they never gave him the script. So they cast another actor named Eric Stoltz, which is probably on your list there.
No, but they had Red the Bum.
Red's in the film. He's in a lot of films. So Eric Stoltz was originally cast as Marty, but about 2 months into production, they realized very quickly it was not working. And they replaced him. And at this point, they did get Michael J. Fox to come back and play the part. However, Michael J. Fox is 5'5". And this is 1985 when this movie was made. It was actually made in 1984, but coming out in 85. And people had different points of views. And it was always believed that the man should be taller than the woman. What do you think of that?
No.
No, yeah.
There's a short man on Earth.
Who's he going to be with?
A nice tall woman.
Yeah, exactly. So they actually fired the woman who played Jennifer, his girlfriend, because she was too tall. And they hired another actor to come in and play that part, which you might have. Who plays Jennifer in this film?
Claudia Wells.
Very good, Claudia Wells. So Claudia Wells came in. Now she's actually, we won't talk about that in this movie, but she does get replaced before the next movie, but that's beside the point. So Claudia Wells came in and played the part because she was shorter and worked better with Michael J. Fox's 5'5" stature. Now here's the thing. Christopher Lloyd, who plays Doc Brown, is 6'1". So that's way taller than me. And Michael J. Fox is almost a foot shorter than that. So did you notice anything about Doc Brown? How he stood all the time?
No, but maybe his knees were a bit bent.
Yeah, he was crouched over. He acted almost as if he had a hunchback all the time. He was always bent so that Marty always had a power, even though he was acting against this very tall other actor.
Yeah.
That's not really that important, but I don't know if that makes this a perfect 10 or not. Although in a weird way, if you look at Christopher Lloyd and he's kind of circled up, hunched over, and Michael J. Fox is straight up, that literally is the number 10. Does that make this movie a perfect 10?
No.
No.
Back to favorite characters.
Yeah.
I also liked Goldie Wilson.
I know you did. So Mayor Goldie Wilson. Yeah, we see Goldie Wilson. Well, actually, the first time we actually see him is 1955. We see a picture of him in 1985 going around in the van saying, "Re-elect Mayor Goldie Wilson." And then we see Goldie Wilson working at the soda shop. And it's actually Marty who gives him the idea to run for mayor.
Yeah.
That's right, he's gonna be mayor. Mayor! Now that's a good idea. I could run for mayor.
This is the thing I always think of about the future.
Yeah.
The future means you will eventually go back in time and tell them, if you die before that,
Yeah.
will they never become mayor?
Oh, if Goldie
Yeah.
Wilson dies before...
No, it's like Marty. If he doesn't go back in time, would
Yeah.
he still
yeah.
be motivated to want to
I
run
know.
for mayor?
So
That's the thing I hate about it.
different story. So first of all, I think we should say, for the sake of this podcast, there is no such thing as time travel, right?
Yeah.
We all traveled at exactly the time it takes us to travel a minute. We travel that minute. We all live it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't go backwards.
Yeah.
As far as we know. What do we know? We're just a little movie podcast. But different writers, different stories use time travel differently. So Marvel, the Marvel movies you won't watch with me, has a wide... By the way, Robert Downey Jr. was one of the people who was considered for Marty McFly. Robert Downey Jr. plays Tony Stark, also known as...
Iron Man?
Iron Man, yep.
Okay.
Don't second guess yourself. They have a certain way of telling time-traveling stories. In Back to the Future, everything that happens in the past affects the future. So, if Marty didn't tell Goldie Wilson to run for mayor, because we already knew Goldie Wilson was mayor, he would still become mayor. It wasn't Marty that made him become mayor. And we know that because at the end of the movie, the things that changed, like George punching out Biff, right? Mm-hmm. And Lorraine being a much more opened person, they made better choices and they became better people. That was through their own actions, but a lot of those actions were influenced by Marty McFly. Marty didn't really influence Goldie because Goldie was already mayor. You could make the argument that that was always going to happen. Marty was always going to go back in time, and he was always going to mention that, and that was always going to be the catalyst for Goldie Wilson to become mayor. However, that doesn't explain how George and Lorraine changed who they were. And really Marty's brother and sister as well, right? Because his brother Dave worked at Burger King or McDonald's in the 1985. Then when he went back to 1955 and came back...
Marty, I always wear a suit to the office.
And his sister is doing really well, and she's got all the boys calling her, so that's the difference, I guess.
Okay, I still don't understand.
Yeah, well, nobody really understands time travel, so... What did you think of Biff Tannen?
Some reason I kind of liked his character.
Did? I love it, yeah.
Some reason I like a lot of bad guys' characters.
Yeah.
So.
First off, Tom Wilson. So Mommy and I have met Tom Wilson. He's an incredibly kind and very engaging person. So nothing like that character. Biff is a horrible person. He's a great character, but a horrible person. We see him in the opening of the movie, 1985. He's crashed George McFly's car. Now, he said there was a blind spot in the car.
Yeah.
Which would, to me, make me think that maybe a car hit him. However, I think that he probably hit the car and spilled some beer on himself. I mean, he even says that. Should you be drinking beer while driving a car?
No.
No.
I mean, if it's
non-alcoholic?
Yeah.
That's...
Should we be saying this on the podcast that kids can join?
Yeah, you don't drink beer and drive a car. But Biff is still bullying George. We don't know at this point he bullied him in the past, but he bullies him, tells him to do his work for him, which obviously will be reciprocated in 1955 when we see him later. But Biff is a darker character than I realized when I watched it with a 10-year-old. The way he treats specifically Lorraine, but really everybody, pretty dark character.
Yeah, I mean, him and Lorraine and the car.
Yeah, that was pretty adult stuff. But luckily, George comes in and ends up punching him real good. Was there anything about this movie that scared you?
Not really.
No?
It did in the past.
It did in the past, yeah. So
that is so confusing when you're talking about a Back to the Future movie.
It's true. This was not the first time you actually saw this movie. I showed it to you when you were super young. I think you were probably about 6.
Yeah.
And that was my mistake.
You showed me Biff.
I don't even know if we got to that point, to be honest with you, because you were afraid of the Libyans in the beginning.
I was afraid of, didn't even get to the future, or past?
Yeah, the past. They did. We watched some
No,
of it.
I wanted to turn it off when the guns were shooting.
You did? Maybe we did turn it off then, and I realized this isn't good for a 6-year-old. I think you were actually 7. I think it was during the pandemic that we did that. This time around, as soon as Einstein, the dog, showed up, you immediately asked, is he going to die?
Yeah.
Does he die?
I don't know.
No! He's the first time traveler. He travels through time 1 minute.
Oh, yeah! Although, not to mention, but in Stranger Things, I heard the little dog that would play as Will's family pet.
Okay.
The dog that ran out to, sniff and stuff. That dog died in real life.
Oh, well, that unfortunately happens. Especially, dogs don't live as long as people.
Yeah, but still.
When you watch a movie, here's the thing, kid. This podcast, I'm going to tell you something really sad. Every single dog and every single cat in every single movie we watch on this podcast is now dead. Yeah. Kit just did the hand across the neck motion. This is an audio podcast, though. You actually have to say it. You can't just make the face. That's the unfortunate part. A lot of the people, too.
I forget, but who is Sherman Peabody?
Who is Sherman Peabody?
Sherman Peabody.
So, Sherman Peabody is the son of Otis Peabody. Old man Peabody is the one who owns all of the land. And Doc Brown even talks about that.
I remember when this was all farmland as far as the eye could see. Old man Peabody owned all of this. He had this crazy idea about breeding pine trees.
That's his kid. But...
And then we got Ma Peabody.
And we got Ma Peabody. Here's the thing. There's a time-traveling cartoon from Bullwinkle. I believe Mr. Peabody and Sherman are from Bullwinkle. They travel through time. And because Bullwinkle significantly predates...
What was that dog, Mr. Peabody or something?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So,
okay.
Mr. Peabody and Sherman have been around for a lot longer than Back to the Future. So I think that was kind of an homage to...
Also, who is Skinhead?
What a terrible name for one of the bullies in Biff's group. Yeah. Biff has 3 bad guys that travel with him. Which is a bully.
I'm guessing the other one is Starlighter.
Is that his name? Yeah. I forget who that is.
Well,
and
it says Starlighter number 1.
Yeah, so Starlighter were probably just people that were in the restaurant. They're essentially background actors. Okay. Some of them may be featured actors. But Biff's gang is Skinhead, played by J.J. Cohen. 3D, played by Casey, I'm going to mispronounce his name, but I think it's Simasco. And Matches, played by Billy Zane. They're his gang. But again, that's such a bully thing to do, right? You see how big Biff is. When Marty trips Biff in the diner, Marty is small, right? Biff is huge. Do you think Biff needs dudes to help him fight somebody like Marty?
No, but I feel like they're his friends, kind of. I feel like it's Dungeons and Dragons, kind of. Biff has strength.
Oh, interesting.
Like other ones may have smarts.
Oh my God, Kit.
Yeah.
Like I love this. This is... I'm going to send this...
Just like Stranger Things.
Yeah, it's very Stranger Things. That's possible. Maybe. Just thinking about those characters, then that would make 3D might be your wizard in that situation. Match might be... Actually, 3D might be your rogue, because he wears 3D glasses, which is the dumbest character ever. You don't even know what 3D glasses are.
I do.
You do, because 3D glasses are good now. You put glasses on when you go to the theater, and when we were kids, one was blue and one was red because of the way they would color the print so that it gave the illusion of 3D. Now it's wildly different.
Yeah.
If somebody wore those glasses, I'm sure kids steal them from the movie theaters all the time. Look at me, I look cool. And
also, who is... There's Marty McFly, number 1. I don't see a number 2, but who's the number 3?
I don't know why there's no number 2 listed. I saw the list you had. Number 3 is Eric Stoltz. So that's who was originally cast as Marty McFly.
Okay.
So, and again, he was removed at the time when the script was going around, because the script was written in 1980, and it had gone around from studios for a while. Columbia owned it. Ultimately, Universal made it. I won't bore you with the details of how that happened. If you really want to know, it's got to do with Double Indemnity. But John Cusack was one of the people that was considered for Marty McFly. C. Thomas Howell. Those names mean nothing to you. This name might. Johnny Depp, who's Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
Ralph Macchio, who's the Karate Kid. People like Charlie Sheen, John Cryer, Ben Stiller, Billy Zane, who plays Matches, and Robert Downey Jr. Hold on, I have to tell you this one. Matthew Modine was also considered, because he was a young actor at the time. He had done stuff like, I think, Full Metal Jacket, I believe, came out right around the same time. Matthew Modine plays a part in a show called Stranger Things, the part of Papa. Could you imagine him as Marty McFly?
Okay, I have two things. It's funny that Dave McFly
Yeah.
the actor is Mark McClure.
Yeah, Mark McClure. He plays Jimmy Olsen in the original Superman movies.
Oh, like Dave McFly and Mark McClure.
Mark McClure. Wendy Jo Sperber was in Bosom Buddies. She was also in an awesome movie called Moving Violations. She plays Linda McFly, his sister.
Okay. On mine, his name is Match, not Match.
Yeah, it's not Matches. I'm fairly certain his name was Matches, not Match, but whatever. Maybe it's Match.
Okay.
Honestly, I'd have to watch again. He probably has a matchstick in his mouth.
In this picture, he does.
Yes, he does. One match. All right, so it's not Matches. I'm thinking like Matches Malone.
Okay. I am going to look at some quotes. There is, Doc, you don't just walk into a store and buy plutonium.
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 Yep. That's true.
Did you rip that off?
Of course, from a group of Libyan nationalists. They wanted me to build them a bomb, so I took their plutonium and in turn gave them a shiny bomb casing full of used pinball machine parts.
Yeah, there's a lot of fish out of water in this, which is really cool. You know, if you were to jump ahead in time, because that's essentially what happens, right? Marty goes backwards 30 years, which means the information he brings to people is 30 years in the future. So if you met someone who knew things 30 years in the future, if you live that time, it's all natural, it happens, it's, not a big deal. They have a flying car at the end of that movie, and me and Mommy joked about it, and we were like, wait, what year did he go to? And we realized he went 30 years into the future, which is 2005, which is, to me, not
It's 2024.
Yeah.
Get real.
Yeah, it's 50 years after that now. We're almost 50 years after that. We still don't have a flying car.
Yes. Another one is, I'm going to make this appropriate. Instead of H-E double hockey sticks.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's say heck.
Okay.
The appropriate question is, when the heck are they?
Yeah. Yeah, that's so when Einstein goes into the future, right? Marty says, "Where the heck is Einie?" And Doc says the appropriate question is, "Where the heck?"
Also, this is one of my favorites. Last night, Darth Vader came down from planet Vulcan and told me that if I don't take Lorraine out...
Did he melt my brain? So that scene was much longer when they originally shot it. And the guitar riff, which I love this. Yeah, that's Eddie Van Halen playing that. So Eddie Van Halen was in the band Van Halen. And they actually, the producers wanted Van Halen, the band, to be involved with the movie, but the band turned them down. But Eddie said, "I'll do it," which is weird because in my mind, Eddie Van Halen is the band.
Silence, Earthling!
So let's talk about the music a little bit, since you brought that up. You have Huey Lewis in the movie and his song Power of Love, which became a huge, huge song. It's very recognizable from Back to the Future. He also wrote another song called Back in Time. What did you think of the music in Back to the Future? Are you going to ask me to play it in the car?
No.
So you don't like the music in the movie?
It's alright.
Did you
Not
like...
car-worthy.
Not car-worthy. Okay. So it's not like Barbie. We're not going to be playing it all the time.
Yeah.
In one of the many drafts of this script, rather than Einstein being a dog, they had...
Cat?
No. A chimpanzee. And its name was...
Chimpanzee?
Yeah, and his name
Oh, you
was
said a chimpanzee. I thought it's a chimpanzee.
A chimpanzee, whatever you want, a monkey. He's not a monkey, but a chimpanzee, because that's what was
Gorilla.
often used
King
in
Kong.
science. Like when they first started launching spaceships up into space, they didn't put people in it. They put, I know, and guess what?
Just gorillas chilling in
No,
there.
like chimpanzees, and
Yeah.
they never came back. So that means, that means if you think about that, there are probes or ships or debris floating around with monkey skeletons up there. That's not entirely true. Somebody fact check me on that one.
I also really like Scooter Kid #2.
Yeah, that's right. When Marty McFly invents skateboarding.
Yeah.
So Scooter Kid #2, he's out there somewhere. Maybe we can get him on the show sometime.
No.
No? What about Scooter Kid #1? Johnny Green. I bet you can find him at conventions. I bet if you go to like different conventions, you can find him there signing autographs and whatnot. So I will say this, here in Media PA, Claudia Wells is going to be in media seeing a screening of Back to the Future and doing a Q&A. So if you want to, we could go to that.
Okay.
And we could talk to her about being Jennifer Parker. Again, these movies became big because of VHS. Now, I mean, Back to the Future did incredibly well in the theater. They kind of knew it was going to. Ultimately, the film would go on to make, including re-releases, $388 million at the box office. It also spawned sequels. Obviously, like I said, re-releases, video games, theme parks, animated series, and, of course, a Broadway musical. This movie on Rotten Tomatoes, which is a pretty good, when it doesn't get infiltrated by trolls, is a pretty good site to gauge what people think of a movie. It has a 93% approval rating. They call it inventive, funny, and breathlessly constructed. Back to the Future is a rousing time travel adventure with an unforgettable spirit. And before you say, oh, how American, in the United Kingdom, readers of Empire magazine voted the film as the 11th on their 2017 list of the 100 greatest movies of all time. So, Back to the Future, Kit aside, is a very well-liked and very well-respected movie. So, Kit, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate Back to the Future? Is it a perfect 10?
I wouldn't call it a 10 for
Yeah.
like 10-year-olds.
Okay.
I feel like the characters and the actors were great, but the storyline was a bit weird.
Bit weird. Okay.
I would give it a 7.
A 7? Okay.
Maybe 6.5.
Whoa, I thought you were going higher. A 6.5. Okay. Hey, listen, that's totally fine. In 1985, 2 Michael J. Fox movies came out about a month and a half, 2 months apart from each other. This came out and Teen Wolf came out. They were both still playing at the Eric Twin. When Uncle Eric and Uncle Brian and I went to see a movie, Grammy said, you guys pick, and we picked Teen Wolf. I love Teen Wolf. I still love Teen Wolf. Also Michael J. Fox, just so good. When I saw my friend Jim later, I told him, and he said, oh, I saw Back to the Future last night. It's amazing. I didn't see Back to the Future until it came to VHS. At the time, we didn't even own a VCR, so we didn't have any way to play it. We had to rent not just Back to the Future, but also the VHS recorder itself, or the player itself. And then soon after, we bought one. That's the way things were back then. It wasn't go to the TV and watch whatever it is that your heart desires at that moment. It was see it in the movies. If you miss it in the movies, you have to wait for it to come to VHS. If for some reason you can't get it on VHS because every time you go to Jim's Video or wherever you go, Blockbuster eventually, but even back then it was all mom and pop shops, you just had to wait. Or you'd have to wait for it to come to HBO. Or maybe you'd see it on USA some night. I think this movie is awesome. I don't know if I'd call it a perfect 10. I think it's way up there. It's probably like a 9, 9.5. One of the things I find very interesting about this movie, I was talking to a guy at work about this the other day. Marty McFly has no character arc. Do you know what that means? Like, he doesn't evolve as a character. He doesn't grow. He does in the trilogy because they kind of force this weird thing into the second movie where he just can't back down. He will not back down, and if you call him a chicken, he'll do stupid stuff, basically, and that's what ends up happening. By the third movie, you find out he has to overcome that feeling of almost rage, and he does, and his entire future is rewritten for the better because of it. But that doesn't happen until the second movie. So in the first movie, his character arc is really, I just have to get home. but he as a person does not evolve or change. You think you'll evolve and change as a person before the next episode?
Yeah.
Before the next episode?
Yeah.
Oh, I hope you clean your room.
Not that kind.
Yeah, I have to go back to the future, a time when you were an infant, when the room was clean. I used to do a podcast called You've Got Geek with my buddy Joel Rickenbach, my friend Brendan Carr, Mike Henley, some other people. And Joel had this thing he would do called Watch, Read, Play, Listen. We would do it at the end of every episode, which is we just recommend something. So this will be our Watch, Read, Play, Listen. So kid, is there something you're watching, reading, playing, like a video game or something, or listening to, like maybe an album that you want to recommend for people to check out if they haven't? Maybe something also that takes place in 1985 in Hawkins, Indiana.
I love Stranger Things right now.
Yeah.
I started on December 31st, around
New Year's
7.
Eve.
It was like 7:32.
7:32 on the nose.
Let's call it 7.
That's what it said on our flex capacitor.
And I've skipped it for 5 days now.
Well, so we watched it on New Year's Eve, a bunch of them. I think we watched 6 episodes or 7 episodes, and we finished it on New Year's Day. So you watched an entire season in almost 24 hours, which is crazy. And then we watched season 2 soon thereafter.
And then I've skipped 5 days.
And then we said, let's take a break for, or I said, let's take a break for a week.
We're definitely watching an episode tonight.
Tonight?
I will force you. I will choo.
What's that? Is that a train? That's Back to the Future 3. You're doing that as your watch? You went back to the past in Hawkins, Indiana. I'll go back even further to early 1900s to a little show on HBO called The Gilded Age, which Mommy and I have been watching, and we thoroughly in love.
Oh my God.
In love? We in love. We enjoy.
You're in love with the show?
I'm in love with the show.
You're cheating on your wife?
No, she's sitting there with me while I'm watching it. Christine Baranski is in it, and she is the most delightful person in the world. Mommy and I saw her in a play called Boeing, and we met her afterwards, and we have a great picture with her. And if you want to follow us on Instagram or Facebook, you can find us at The Perfect 10 Podcast, but 10 is 10. So The Perfect 10 Podcast. If you would like to email us and suggest movies or tell us your thoughts on Back to the Future, you can email us at... Do you hear that train? There's a train coming by just as I'm about to give the email address. You can email us at theperfect10podcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
So again, it's theperfect10podcast.
You should put it up on the
at
screen.
gmail.com.
Also-
There is no screen. This is audio. What screen is there?
I mean, like, if you click on it, like...
You can't click on something in audio form. Maybe I can put it in the body of the description of the episode.
Okay, So, what was I about to say? Dang it!
A bug flew by and distracted you.
Yes.
You can subscribe and like us. You can leave a review for the podcast. Tell people.
We should do, like, recommendations. People can email us, tell us, like, what movies we should watch from
1985.
'85.
Were you not listening to me when I said that?
I
You were thinking of Stranger Things already. Wherever you found this podcast, if you would like it, if you would share it, if you would leave a review, we would greatly appreciate it. And we will be back again next month with another movie from my past and Kit's future. That's not true. I mean, it's your future because we haven't watched it yet. So I guess that is true.
Yeah, and happy birthday if your birthday is this month. Just happy birthday in general. Even if your birthday was 2 years.
If it was 2 years ago? Well, if you're born in a leap year, this is a leap year.
Yes.
So that's true. But it would have been
So
2 years ago. It would have been 4 years
birthday.
ago. Yeah. Happy birthday to everybody whose birthday is on leap day.
And just in general, your birthday is November 2nd.
Ooh, I thought you were going to say 5th. That's my birthday. That's the date that Marty McFly goes back to. Of course, 20 years before I was born. Kit's now dancing on an audio podcast.
You're listening to The Perfect 10. I feel like one of those Disney people, like, this is Jenna Ortega, and you're watching
That's what it
Disney
basically is.
Channel.
Yeah. All right.